that's one of the things about the authentic thing.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a major thing that we speak about because that was pretty interesting. But you went from you were actually one of the first people we brought on.
Oh, we're recording.
Yeah.
It's actually okay. All right.
Yeah, we're one of the first. You were one of the first people we brought on.
Yeah.
From another real estate company.
Yeah.
That we partnered with.
Yeah.
Remember? And so one of the things is you went from leasing to what?
Yeah, leasing to, pretty much leasing to BDM to sales associate to an agent. And then when I was an agent, I was probably an agent for a year and a half, 2 years.
Yep.
And then I decided to sort of like, step out and want to do my own thing.
Yeah. And then you became, because so people that don't know, the way we work is we've got like licensing. So Karim completely runs and operates his business completely. Obviously, it's all linked to a platform, but like I'm not involved in your business. You're running your own business under the licensing. And some of the things that we had to do when you first came on board is, you ran our first license.
Yeah. I was the first.
It was a shambles.
It was a mess. Yeah, it was. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I gave it a go.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, I think
partnering with someone who has no idea what they were doing.
I think the two.
I just expected everyone would work the way we work.
Yeah,
and then I saw some stuff where I was like, oh, okay, we need to. This is a bit left field for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you run your own business, built your own role.
Yeah. But going back to it, like when you and I started like talking, and then I started to run my own business, I was still finding my feet. Like I was still trying to navigate my way around being an agent.
I don't know if you were finding your feet. I think you were finding new feet because the feet you were standing on were fragile, I think, in relation to how, I don't know, like some of the things that I remember, like some of the things that you were doing, we'll get that closer to you.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you were doing, I feel like there was a disconnect between what you were doing and what we were doing until obviously we made the app and we brought everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially there was a disconnect. But you grew your business, you run it now.
Yeah.
We're building it together. We're building our things together. But it's important to know that you run your own business.
Yeah. Ultimately, everything is like, you don't have much or any involvement, but like we're still connected because it's not like I'm on my own. So it's not like, you're running your own office.
Yeah.
No, training's the same.
Yeah.
Everything we do, the processes, the systems, we still get together often.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're not involved, but like at a distance still there for when I need help with anything.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's the thing. Like people, when we're building these, the most important thing is for the person running their operation to have the belief to run it. Yeah. And for us, it's transferring that belief and then you taking it to the next level and then understanding it and building on it and building that foundation. It's not a matter of us being in control of what you're doing. It's a matter of us really serving you and saying, well, how do we make this better for you? How do we improve it? But then there are things obviously you had to contend with. And I remember when you first came on board, like the first thing I had a bit of an issue with, and that's the thing about this. We say this needs to be authentic. It cannot be something like this podcast where people are sitting here and they're laying back in their chair and they're talking about, they're talking about, we're going to do this and this is how we did this and this is how we went about this.
Yeah.
It needs to be what is actually real.
It has to be
right?
real,
To transfer the right energy.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you and I spoke about, do you remember the thing that I had the biggest issue with? Was
my unauthenticity, which was like basically me being someone that wasn't my true self.
At the start.
It's
a long time ago now.
Yeah, like what, seven years ago.
Yeah, but that's one of the pillars to have that conversation. So I had to go through that too, right? I had to go through that too. But I mean, I remember you and I sat down and I know you came in with a lot of real estate lingo and talking about and I remember you were saying something went off and then you thought I was going to sit there and go, let's unpack it, what's going on. You used to talk like this and, how, why, when, where questions, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
All valid stuff, but not really penetrating or impactful. I remember you and I had a conversation. I sat down. Do you remember that conversation? I think that was a real important conversation. I think you thought I was probably a lunatic at that point.
Yeah. Look, we had a few, to be honest, a lot of conversations where I think you were just being very real and you were just being very down the line with.
Do you remember it? How it went?
With me. Were we talking about the one where, I kind of felt like he didn't like me, or was it the
No,
one
what do you
where-
mean? Oh, it's not a matter of likability.
No,
but all right,
I don't
we'll
think
start,
like
we'll
that, but you
start
didn't
there.
like the
Why did
person
you?
that I
Why did you think that? Why did you think
because
that?
there was a lot of things that I was doing that was against like some stuff that was normal to you, right? So like it was something that was normal for me was like not normal to you.
Yeah.
And then something that was normal to you was not normal for me.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a few things that happened where then I kind of felt, oh fuck, like Omar's really like shit, why is he feeling this way? And then you just gave it to me down the line. You're like,
Yeah.
I fucking hate your character. I hate the person that
I didn't
you
say
are.
exactly like. Maybe I
Yeah,
did.
you did.
Yeah,
You
okay,
actually
maybe
did.
I did.
I remember the day clearly.
Maybe
like,
that
it
must
was-
have been 7 years ago version.
Yeah, it was. Not this. Yes, dude. Here and there you get it. But it was that chat. And then it was a campaign that we were working on. And there was some things that I was doing. And then there was things post the campaign. And then you just gave it to me.
It was the thing of like you coming in and you were talking about what was going on with your numbers and stuff like that. And I just said to you, I said, look, at the end of the day, the people with the 3 Instagrams and the 2 phones and all of that, and there's a gap between it. People talk about the word integrity, but I think it's an integrity gap between who you're saying you are and who you actually are. And people start to feel that. And my thing is, if I'm direct with the people that I'm working with, I would rather be brutally direct.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what's worse than brutally direct, and I always say it, is the market ignoring you.
Correct.
And so the market's not going to sit down and say to you, hey, like for example, I always say this, and you saw we had that conversation, but I say this. I say, how many times have you been to a restaurant
Yeah, a fair few times.
and you've walked in?
Yeah.
And then when you sat down, how many times have you been to a restaurant you didn't like the food? Has that ever happened?
That's happened. Yeah.
Okay. And when the waiter came up to you and said, sir, how was the food tonight? What did you say?
It was good. Actually enjoyed it. It was fun.
Yeah, you said it was good. So you completely lied to protect.
The guy, I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
You didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah, yeah.
So not only did you not ignore him, you actually told him it was good.
Yeah.
And so you left. But let me ask you this question. Did you ever go back?
No.
Okay. And that's what the market does to people.
right, yeah.
The market doesn't tell you, bang, sometimes they do. Sometimes you've gone so far that they do. But they don't. So what I like to do is go really, really ugly early and sit down and have a conversation and say, right, we're going to build belief. Here are some things that I can see, and not to say that I'm anything special, but I've learned over the years that doesn't work. So we had that conversation.
We did. And then from there, I just had to have a really good, good look at myself and really realize that this isn't the person that I wanted to be. And then from there, yes, there were numbers and stuff like that involved, but are we talking about the conversation where there was an ultimatum on the table where it was
Was there an ultimatum? I don't
remember
remember.
the one where it's like, hey, if we are in a position where you're not going to step up, like we got to reconsider whether this is going to.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do
continue
with numbers.
No, it didn't.
It had
But
to
it
do-
had everything to do with me.
It's
It was
impact of who you're going to be. Like
Yeah.
we're growing something together.
yeah,
And I remember I sat with you and I said, listen, okay, man, it's disingenuine. Like everything feels fake. It's kind of like we're in high-fiving kids territory at the auction.
yeah,
It just doesn't feel right.
yeah. Which was again the stuff that I thought that I needed to do. So
Which, I saw a couple of videos before you came
Yeah,
on board
there's a
doing
few floating around.
doing exactly that. I
Yeah.
mean, and this is probably videos of me, but not doing that sort of stuff.
yeah,
But anyway, so, we had to talk about that, right? And then that was something that we spoke about. That's one of the pillars that we had to fix. So that was interesting. Anyway, so what are some of the things that we did? I remember we, down to the detail, when you came on board, we actually partnered on a property sale together.
we did the Lorraine's place in Peakhurst.
Was it Lorraine?
Lorraine's, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the one on Henry Lawson on the corner?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
tell that story. And that's actually how we kind of met.
Well, it's funny because I was telling this story to someone the other day where you purposely, in a way, because you knew I didn't list it correctly. So you were like, you know what, let him have it. And I went through the motions of listing it. Eventually I didn't sell it. And then you stepped in and then you sold it within like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
fast forwarding 6-7 years, it's kind of what I'm doing now. Like I found myself saying, it's okay, let the other agent have it. It's fine. I'll pick up the pieces, I'll put it together later because I'll list it correctly.
Yeah.
So like back then I used to, no, it wasn't the enthusiasm or the charisma I used to rely on, but I knew I wasn't listing it to the level that you would list it.
Yeah.
So you came in, you basically did the deal, and then from there I was curious about how exactly.
Well, we ended up getting a pretty great outcome. And I remember I saw you, where did I see you?
we bumped each other.
Yeah, we bumped into each other at
Bondi.
At Bondi,
Yeah,
of
Kelly's
all
in Bondi.
places. I
Yeah.
didn't know you. You didn't really know me.
No
but,
idea.
But I saw you sitting there with your baseball cap on.
Yeah.
And
Still
like
wear
I'm like that was actually very awkward, that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't about you.
No, for me it was normal. It was okay.
So I was sitting there.
Yeah.
And you came up to me.
Yeah.
And you said, "Hey, I'll introduce myself. I'm Karim." I'm like, "Hey, Karim, yeah, how you going?"
Yeah.
And then you said something to me that really annoyed me. Really annoyed me.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I remember. I said, "Hey, like, what's up with this offers invited thing that you do? Is it kind of like an angle that you use to get business?"
And I said, "Angle? We just
Yeah.
got $250,000 more than your property passed in at auction. 2 weeks later, I go, what do you mean angle?" And I couldn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm like, why are you asking me that? I thought, why isn't this guy asking me,
Yeah.
"Hey mate, how did you get 200 grand more 2 weeks after I tried to sell it? And how come the owner worked with you so well?" You never asked any of those questions.
Nah,
And I thought, what's this guy going on about?
I remember.
And by that time, I was disconnected from the industry. I didn't know what people are saying, what they're doing. Not
Yeah.
that that's what they're saying, but that's what I thought you were saying because you approached me with that.
I thought that was an angle that you used to just get the business, and then I was like, why exactly are you using that angle? But there was so much to it.
How could it be an angle? The property sold.
It was at the end of the day, it was a process, and it wasn't just the process of
And
offers
nothing.
invited.
Offers invited is just a word. That's
Correct.
not a process.
Yeah, it's all the moving parts behind it
Yeah.
that then eventually ended up producing a result of like 250 grand more.
But the question that you were asking,
Yeah, because
I didn't understand. Why were you asking that question?
because that's all I kind of knew, man. Like that's just the way I was. Like I just thought, okay, well, what angle are you using that I can then kind of use as well? Like,
And how many people out there think that everything we speak about is that it's an angle to do something? I mean, but if you're saying the same thing for 16 years straight, I mean, that's a pretty long boat angle. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, look, I get it because sometimes they just also don't know any better. The same way I didn't know any better. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, how'd you do it? Did you use offers invited? And then, okay, that must be the way you're getting business.
And I said, what do you mean getting business? I go, what are you talking about? I go, why aren't you asking me? Anyways, that conversation kind of ended.
Yeah, and then
And I thought, what's this guy going on about? And then I thought, this is awkward. So anyway, we got up.
I remember this. Yeah, you went to the movies.
We got up. We're going to the movies. Who do I see?
I'm
Oh,
behind
see you,
you.
Karim.
No.
Enjoy your dinner. Who do I see? Oh, it's Karim. Oh, Karim, you're going to the movies. Yeah, I'm going to the movies. All good, mate.
Yeah.
Enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Went in to watch a movie. Oh, you're going to see the same movie I'm going to watch. Oh, enjoy
Yeah.
the movie. Oh, you're sitting right in front of me.
No, I was behind you.
I
You were
was
in front, I was behind.
And I'm
like,
sitting
fuck.
there going the whole time going, oh, and then Mel knows how I am.
Yeah.
So I think I left that movie like 30 minutes in. I was out,
Yeah,
man.
fuck.
I wasn't copping that. That was that was awkward as anything.
That's just too much awkwardness.
And
I
you
remember
weren't-
that.
you
I
thought-
was fine. Look, obviously, you and I are very different in a lot of ways. You're the type of guy that would get awkward and weird about it, but to me, it's just like it's normal. Whatever.
Which
Just
I actually
get
love
done.
about you because you just approach things like that. I don't do that. I'm not sitting there like that. You're the type of guy that I remember you used to say you'll go to like an event and then you'll talk to one security guard who'll let you into another place and then to another place. And I'll only think about that and go,
Yeah.
I'm not doing
No,
that.
you wouldn't even approach this.
No, I'd sit in the back in the corner.
I'll find
I
a
won't
way
be
to-
able to see a thing, but I'll sit there going,
I'm enjoying it.
This is
Ooh, at
great.
least I can hear it. Well, I would want to be up front, like as close as I can.
we say this a lot, right? We say this a lot. You coach the under fives girls team,
Yes, I do.
and so do I.
Yes,
And we're going to play each other.
we are.
I'll wipe you out.
Maybe.
I've got Zara, my daughter.
think
She's
so,
ready to go.
We'll see.
We'll see, mate. We'll see who's got the most belief. We'll report back with the outcome.
The outcome will be there.
No, we'll see what happens. Anyway, so they're great kids. But here's the thing. If you have 4 lollipops,
Yeah.
okay, or let's say you got 1 lollipop, and the winner gets the lollipop and the other 4 don't, you know that the winner, in this case being the buyer and being the seller, both got a lollipop. But the other people who attended that didn't get the prize are in a emotional state that's not the greatest after entering your shop.
That's right.
So what was baffling me is how could the most important person after the fact be the person who got the maximum and the person who got their dream home? The most important people are the other 4 kids who didn't get the lollipop. Try give a lollipop to the winner of 5-year-olds, which we don't do, but let's say we did,
Yeah.
and see the reaction of the other 4.
Well, the reaction and more importantly, the state, because the thing is, they don't show you their reaction. It's the stuff that you don't
5-year-olds do.
see.
5-year-olds do, but,
Five.
but people don't.
People don't.
Sometimes they do.
Adults don't. No,
But
most
then
of
what
them
happens to
don't.
those 4-year-old girls or 5-year-old girls?
There's-
What happens to their parents' reaction to that?
The parents' reaction will probably come out more compared to the 5-year-old girls.
So that's 4, which turned into 8, which turned into 12.
Which then-
So that's 12 people, mum, dad, child,
yeah.
times the amount of people there, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a situation now where your experience has compounded.
Correct.
And so I couldn't understand your maths. I was like, what are you talking about? And so these are the things that we used to have conversations about. And we say, well, what's going on there? And I think there was a lot of that, right?
Yeah. Well, I think for the first 12 to 18 months, there was a lot of that. I had to learn and grow myself more and really be confronted by people like yourself, because there wasn't anyone really in my life that would hit me up about my flaws. And
Everyone's got flaws. We all do.
We all do.
But
The reality is no one usually tells them. And they say at the end of the day, the people closest to you do. But sometimes they don't, because they're trying to protect you emotionally. But some of the stuff you're doing is fucked.
Yep.
And when you've got someone to the left of you...
Try and limit the swearing. I guess it's
Truly-
authentic if you're a swearer.
Truly, if someone cares about you, they'll tap you on the shoulder and they'll actually point out your flaws. And they'll tell you, okay, hey, man, I've noticed X, Y, and Z. Hey, do this, do that. And then they'll help you. And then sometimes if that person doesn't want to take on that help, well, that's more of a reflection of them.
Yep.
But I think that most people probably drift through making all these mistakes and looping them, but they just really don't have anyone on the shoulder, like tapping them and kind of bringing that stuff to their attention.
But that's where we start talking about, that's where we started talking about belief. We started saying, like, what do you actually believe here? And we started to talk about that,
Yeah.
Is there a vision of the future where you're demonstrating your good character, where you're influencing more people, where you're impacting more people? Do you see that, or do you care about a transaction? And that's the real thing. It's the underlying intentional belief. Do you see like a world in the future? So greatest future, impacting as many people, and making sure that if you've got that shop and 20 people come in, 20 people leave in a high state.
Well, it's the shop, but then it's also, you got to remember who's inside the shop. So it's not just the shop, the people that come in, it's the people that are inside of the shop serving those people. So the way I look at it is, if you've got 3-4 people inside the shop and you've got 50 people coming at you, it's just as important that those 3 or 4 other people that are around you, they're going to be probably 50% as good as you. So if those people are there serving them as well, they're only going to raise to your standard. That's it. It's that simple. As we always say, you only tolerate the standard that you walk by. So that's something that we obviously, we constantly work on. It's not perfect, but we're constantly working to raise the standard, because we know that standard that we live by is the standard that everyone else is.
It's not, and that's the thing that we found that we're doing, that it's not that easy. The more people we bring into the organization, the more minor objections from the people they're serving we see.
Yeah.
And we got to keep going. I mean, we're up to 216, 220, and we just keep looping it, and we just keep closing it up. Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. But the intentionality is to have a vision of a future where you're creating the greatest experience during that life-changing moment to everybody. To have that type of vision where you speak to 10 people and you go, what do you think of a real estate agent? And 10 people answer as if they said doctor or nurse, as if you said doctor or nurse. To have that vision, you've got to go through things to get there.
Yeah.
So if we've got, 500 reviews online and they're 4.9, I want to know why the 0.1 isn't at the 5.
Correct.
Because that gives you the answer about how to get to that vision. What we're doing well is not something we wanted to look at. So that shop analogy gives you a great indication. Most people who run a shop, let's say, like, could you imagine, we were talking about this before, could you imagine you're running a pizza shop or a spaghetti shop?
Yeah.
And you're in the shop, and I was saying this to Imam, you're in the shop and you're putting out flyers every day. And the owner of the shop is saying, go get more people to come see our shop. And you're like, well, what am I selling? And you're like, get them in and then I'll close what they should buy off the menu.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you're selling, what the product is, whatever. Yeah. So you go and you book them into the shop, they turn up. The shop attendant, the shop owner is making pretty average spaghetti. Puts the spaghetti down in their face. They start eating it. The person goes, doesn't come back. The shop owner says, hey, listen, mate, don't be annoyed by that. Next one, make rejection your best friend. Go out and get more people.
Yeah.
So now you've got a bottle of water with holes in the bottom and you just keep filling it. And what was baffling me is, why don't you just make that spaghetti good?
Yeah.
And then the people who leave will do what you're asking the people in your business to do.
Correct.
So instead of having 2 people go out there and bring people into your shop, you now have 2 people, plus you have the people that actually were at your shop.
Correct. Yeah. So basically, you're plugging the holes at the bottom of the bucket.
And you're building an army
Yeah.
of people going out into your place. So people will say it's a numbers game. And I'm like, well, how are you calculating? The calculation's pretty simple. Back to the analogy. 5 kids, 1 lollipop. Give 1 lollipop in your shop. 4 get annoyed. They leave. Their parents get annoyed. You've got now 12. So what happens now?
Well, what happens now is you've just pissed off 4 other kids.
So what's the point of going to find new people to come into your shop?
So the biggest thing I would say that
Is that something you picked up here? And
well, I think it all, like for me, it all linked back to, and again, we all have these moments that like pop up, but like I had a pretty frustrated buyer that called me on a Saturday night after an auction, and like he just
when?
I was back a while.
How long
ago. Oh, like 7-8 years ago.
Oh.
It was prior to my days here. So
I was just going to ask you.
No,
what
no.
was that about?
No,
We need
it
to
was-
fix that.
it wasn't
Back
good.
through the
No,
app.
not here. Yeah, back through the app. Sandy will fix it.
What's going on now? Well, back to your story. But that's another thing too. When the phone rings, what do I say?
Why is it ringing?
I don't want the phone to ring.
Yeah,
I'm like, if the phone's ringing, you didn't preempt something.
Correct.
Unless it's new business.
Well, well, when the office phones rings, yeah, there's a reason why they're ringing, and we just want to get to the bottom of exactly why. 'Cause
Yeah,
if
so
there's a reason,
sometimes I sit next to the person and I'm writing down what the other person's saying. And
Yeah.
I go back to the system and I go, item number 65, didn't preempt here, didn't fix D, new message, out it goes, the phone stops ringing again.
That's right. So everything can be preempted.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you can't fix that stuff, but you actually can.
Yeah.
You just got to.
Well, that's a belief, isn't it?
It's a belief, and I think at the end of the day, it's something. It's a belief, but it's also whether you want to grow to again stop that sort of stuff happening in your business or not. So
So go back to that. So you're saying that story?
Oh yeah. So there was a story where the buyer was like really pissed, like fucking so pissed, or really angry.
8 years ago. Let's just
8
be
years
clear
ago,
there.
it was obviously prior to my, days that I was realty.
What happened?
But yeah, like he actually kind of like first time in a while, I actually felt like fuck, I really hurt this guy. Like he was an underbidder. I dragged him along the whole way. I always knew there was a buyer. I just needed to make sure that he was there. And then, he called me Saturday night and he just wanted to just give it to me, and I just had to cop it on the chin. And he's like, man, you fucked me here. You did this. You did that. You did this. You made me waste money here. You made me do this. I came 5 times. My wife's pissed at me. I wish you could see the combos that we're having. I wish you could see the state of my kids, this. And I think at that moment I was like, oh, fuck. Like I single-handedly had an influence on how he felt.
Which means you can influence it the other way.
Exactly. So I either influenced it that way,
Yeah.
or I could have influenced it the other.
100%.
But I back then made the decision to influence it the other way.
Yeah.
I didn't. And now, obviously, if I had my time over again, it would have been handled.
Well, you don't do
completely
that.
different.
Your business is
Never.
exceptional now. That's one of the things you focus on. We call it the people that didn't get the prize.
Parish, yeah, correct. So
Yeah.
every person who, it's just as important to even go beyond and service the person beyond, or even have 2 free properties lined up for the ones that they missed out on.
Yeah.
So anyway, back then, it didn't really bother me that much, but that moment there it did. And I think it's when I just started to realize, okay, well, I don't want that happening. And then I thought to myself, like I don't want to be the type of guy that the guy sees me in the street with my kid or my kids and my wife, and then, excuse me, he walks the other way, or he puts his head down and acts like he doesn't want to see me or he doesn't want to know me. Like that's a bit embarrassing. Like I want to be able to walk down the street with my kid or my wife, and the guy come up to me and shake my hand and call me a champion. So it's either you're doing that sort of stuff,
And that's
and the people are going to walk past you and they're going to act like they don't know you, and then you're going to keep looping the same mistake.
And that's the thing, like it's about caring what people think about you and your service. So people will say to me, I'm one of those guys, I don't care what people think. I'm like, if you don't care what people think, why are you telling people you don't care what people think?
Exactly. But deep down, you truly do care what
Because
people
you're
think.
trying to sell your significance back to the other person
Correct.
to say, look, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he brings me to that saying too, that with belief, right, is you've got somebody, remember I told you, you got somebody who promotes, look, I've got a Lamborghini. And then you've got another person promotes, I don't need a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I drive just a crappy car. Remember what I used to say to you?
They're both chasing significance. The person who's talking about the Lamborghini and the person who's talking about that they don't need a Lamborghini both have the same need structure as significance.
Once you understand that,
Yeah.
then you're able to go, okay, nothing is really real. Everything's an illusion.
And everything's based on a need structure. So the person who's talking about it, is just at the same emotional need structure as the person who's acting like they don't need it.
And how many people have, and this for people running businesses out there, and I remember as you started building your business, we said this, that somebody says, oh, you might have a double standard for people. And I'm like, well, no, we've got about 20 standards because each person is different.
Yeah,
treat people how they want to be treated, right?
Correct, not how you want to
So you could be running an organization right now and you could have somebody within the business who says, I want to do it my way, this is what I do. And you could have another person in the business saying, that person does it their way, but we should do it the right way. Now, both people in that instance are chasing the exact same need.
Correct.
And once you look past that, you're like, well, go look online. Look online. If somebody says, I've got a Lamborghini, and the other guy says, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I can drive just any car.
Yeah. I'm okay with my Toyota.
What is the person actually trying to say?
As in, you want me to answer? Yeah. Well, the person that's got the Lamborghini is chasing the significance, because with the Lamborghini, there is a feeling of significance.
Which is no issue.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. Yeah. It's like the same reason why someone wears a Rolex watch and someone wears a
but the person who says, I don't need the Lamborghini, what I'm trying to say is to bring them together, is to try and acknowledge or show the people that you're actually chasing the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. The person who says, I don't need the Lamborghini is chasing the same significance because he's trying to say, I don't need it, and one's saying, I do need it. The reality is you're both chasing a significance.
They're both trying to say that I'm significant because I don't have it.
Correct.
I don't need it. And the other one's saying I'm significant. So one's saying I'm significant because I don't need it, and the other one's saying I'm significant because I have it.
Correct.
And
but they're both significant.
And so, but when you understand that, then we went back to everybody in your organization and everybody that you serve is
got some sort of human need structure. Yes. And I think that's probably one of the first probably few things that I had to kind of understand, like human needs. There was a lot of the stuff that we used to, or I, used to kind of watch. Don't watch it as much now, but you can listen to the Tony Robbins and the Robin Sharmas, and you can listen to their stuff that they talk about on YouTube, and then you can actually link it back to human needs, and then you can see how you can implement that stuff in business. So you've obviously got things like connection, where at an inspection, you wouldn't treat the person whose human need structure of connection is different to the person's human need structure of significance. Yeah. Like one wants a cuddle, the other one wants a compliment.
Yeah.
One person who wants information and certainty, you can't treat them the same way as someone who, just because you don't have a lot of certainty or you don't actually need it, doesn't mean the other person doesn't need it. Yeah. And that's what used to I find piss a lot of people off. So when you misspell their name, or even things like, not getting back to them on time, or things like not keeping your word, or even saying you're going to do something and then you don't follow through on it.
And it could annoy people in different ways.
But this always goes back to the customers that are coming to your shop. So these customers are coming to your shop.
How do you meet their emotional need?
Correct. And once you understand how to meet their emotional need, you can, I don't think the word influence is correct, because I think you can just throw that around. I think it's how you can then best speak to them, so then that way you can get the best outcome for them. Yeah. So basically, if I used to have this issue all the time, and I just used to just say, Kim, can you just sort this out? And that wasn't the right thing to do. But I used to be really annoyed with people that were high certainty. It's like, bro, why do you need to know that? Who cares? Why do you need the building report? Come on, make an offer.
Yeah.
Or what's the big deal? I misspelt your name. Who cares? Well, doesn't matter. So there was certainty there that I wasn't meeting.
Because your own need structure wasn't certainty.
My need structure.
And look, you can look up a lot of things. You can look up Maslow's needs. You can look up what you said, the Tony Robbins thing.
Yeah.
You can, really everybody knows it because you see it as you're speaking to people, right? Yeah. If somebody's walking up the driveway, and let's say a couple's walking up the driveway, and the couple's holding, let's say he's holding his wife's hand.
Yeah.
And as he's walking one step in front of his wife.
Yeah.
And you can see the grip's tight. Yeah. Instantly you can see significance.
Straight away.
And as the person walks in, if you turn around and say, can I please grab your name and number to the wrong person, you're going to trigger a reaction. But if you're attentive and you turn around and you go, hello, sir, welcome. Can I please have your name? And you grab your name and you say, ma'am, can I have your name? What's your name? Yeah. Feel free to wander through.
Yeah.
And your approach is making sure you understand that, then you start to really be able to predict energy because you can actually see very quickly.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we've managed to inject that back into our communication structure inside of belief, along with several other things.
Yeah. So when people are then again, it comes back to who's entering your shop.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually have a shop. You don't have to have a shop front. You are the shop.
Yeah.
When your inquiry comes through from a property, that's an opportunity. When you're meeting people that opens, that's an opportunity. When you're
And being empathetic, like how many times I used to see this when and people come into the business, and let's say they're getting a call from somebody, and the person goes, "I've got a budget of 1.1," and really the house is like 1.8. Okay, and they'll say something like, "Oh, mate, this is like a 1.8 house," and I'm thinking, mate, acknowledge the guy who saved a deposit for 2 years, had the courage to call you. You don't have a price on your property.
Yeah.
Ask the price. Acknowledge how challenging that is for the person, their life, their family. He's at home or she's at home. She just got off the phone. Be humble in your every interaction. Acknowledge the need of that person. It's like oxygen to a person.
It's true. And again, it goes back to, are you speaking to them? Like at the end
Are
of
you
the day,
engaged with them?
Are you engaging?
Do you care about them?
And I say it again, then if you've got people that are in your shop, it stems from you. So if you're the lead agent, for example, and you've got 2 or 3 associates, those associates are only going to observe what you do.
Which we don't call associates anyway, but just for the sake of everybody understanding.
Yeah.
So we call everybody an agent because they have to have the belief that's what they are.
Correct. So if you've got people that work in your team, they are going to observe what you do. So if you're on the phone there and you're like, yeah, no problem, man, I'll keep you in the loop. I'll let you know what happens with that property. And then you don't, well, man, they're only going to observe what you do. Or better yet, when you're like, oh, yeah, give me your details, cool, I'll help you with something else. It's like, if you don't, you're better off just saying, hey, look, I'm probably not going to help you with another property, but I'll get someone from my team to give you a hand. So then that way, you're not the type of person that's going to do something against something you said you're not going to do.
It's demonstrating your great character first.
Yeah.
Then going 1% above. And we used to speak about that. We used to speak about, remember the candle situation?
Yeah.
When you first came in, because you got a decent size rent roll, you're looking after a lot of people. But
yeah.
I remember you had a conversation with, when you first came.
I remember Joyce when we were talking about we should have candles.
And I said basic expectation.
1% above.
We call it the 1% philosophy, which is constantly meeting the basics, right? Basics,
Always.
basics, 1%. And we've spoken about this many times. We likened it to a coffee shop. You turn up to a coffee shop. You have an expectation.
Yeah.
I'd like my coffee. That's the basic,
That's
right?
the basics.
Okay, the person turns around. It takes too long to serve you. He's rude or she's rude. Produces a coffee. It burns your lip. And then they say, would you like a biscuit? And so the person thinks by offering the biscuit, he's creating a great experience. But see, the 1% doesn't mean anything with the other 99, right? So getting the basics done. So what we used to say to you is Karim,
let's just focus on the basics.
the detail of the basics. And then one day you went and ordered all these candles for tenants.
Yeah. And said, let's give this when we hand over the keys.
And what did I say to you? I lost it.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it was like, you're not, yeah.
It's like, how are you going to grow your business like this?
Because again, it's like giving the candle to the tenant, but you haven't even given them a proper ingoing. Or the tenant's coming to pick up their keys and you haven't even showed up on time.
Yeah, this fascination with creating you can't create a magic moment until, we call it low state, neutral state,
And then high state.
high state.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a belief of it matters to keep people in a high state.
Always.
And then once you have that belief, you know what follows? Empathy. And then once empathy follows, you know what follows? Energy. So when you have a belief of a vision of that's how your business is going to run, then you start to see you don't need to go to a conference and have all these lessons. You know the human condition because you're a human.
Correct.
We're a human. We know the experience. We know the deep insights into the human experience. So as a business right now out there, it's all automated now. But back then I used to try and do it manually.
Yeah.
Because I just thought everyone was going to be like that, which is...
You learned very quickly that that's not the case.
Yeah. And that's very important. So you're doing that. Obviously you're doing it now.
Yeah.
But
So
for businesses out there starting, you were starting...
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a bit. Like, what can they do?
It's just focus on the basics. Like, that's it. It's really not, it doesn't have to be special. You don't got to go over the top. You don't have to do anything outside of what you know, but just focus on what the client expects being the bare basic. And once you've actually met the bare basic, then you can add the 1%. Don't add the 1% and then not do the basic. You're going backwards very quick. And I was the first one to think that all of these little 1%ers come before the basics because it doesn't matter. They'll like the candle or they'll like the extra gift that I sent them. But when you send that gift, but then you've pissed them off along the way, it actually means nothing. Like they'll probably pick it up and put it straight in the bin because of the state that they're in, of how you pissed them off along the way.
But we made so many errors growing up, really growing up. Yeah, the company in relation to just having an expectation. Like I remember when you first started, like 10 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you put the biggest logo A I've ever seen because I said to you, that's okay. This is our shop. This is our providers. And I left it with you. You put this logo, and I remember I was sitting in the corner going, oh my god.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like at the same time, like
I'm a patient man. I'm a patient man.
You were growing and I was growing.
Yeah.
So we were both kind of growing. Like I was the first person to come in and say, hey, like I want to do X, I want to do Y, I want to do Z, and this is like totally against what you thought would happen, because you probably thought everyone's a lot like you or a lot like the team. And then, I remember when you let go of that one thing and I got a hold of Herman's details. I had a chance to call Herman.
And Joyce goes to me, you know what? Joyce is like a parent. She goes to me, you know what, Omar? You've got to let go a bit. You got to let go.
No.
Worst advice she ever gave me.
Quick.
Anyway, so I turned up a week later, and there's this giant A logo on the office. And you know me, I like the whole dead space philosophy where you've got like it's a floating logo and everything's around it. And I saw this massive A there, and I was like, oh, but it's a lesson. It's a lesson that you've got to align values nice and early. You've got to explain why something's important, not just say to somebody, this is important.
Yeah.
And then it's got to benefit that person, and it's got to benefit their vision, and it's got to benefit their growth. And another thing too, if you do not have, and this is the thing that's missing worldwide, like you see within our business, we've got a scalable model. If you do not have that, what are you really relying on?
Yeah, well, most people then rely on their charisma. Yeah. And they rely on
people say charisma. People say, it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about this. People say charisma, and it's, superstar agent charisma, they do this and they do that. It's not, man. It's just lipstick on a pig, right? That's what it really is. It's just a dressed up pig. And what I mean by that is not to be derogatory. What I'm trying to say to you is when you're turning up with no plan, no structure, no process, no step-by-step solution, no problem, no solution, the belief isn't as strong as it needs to be. When you turn up like that and you're relying on having this charismatic thing, here's the issue. You're actually setting up something, right? Yeah. You're setting up that charismatic energy is the benchmark of decision making against what happens in the market. So the second something different happens to what you promised, you're relying back against what the owner went with you for at the start, which is they like you or whatever it is, your charisma. Yeah. Once you start to do that and what you're advising is different to where the owner wants to be, right? You're going to have a disconnect. And this is where the agent starts to change their charisma all of a sudden.
Well, they change their charisma, but they then also start to change their story.
It's change their story.
Yeah, so if you start changing your story, it's like, where was that bloke that I met 4 weeks ago?
But can I tell you, isn't that categorically, universally what sales is known for? So how is it unique for a salesperson to walk in there and have charisma? How is that unique?
Well, again,
it's not unique. It's universally sales. It's everywhere. I went all around the world. I looked at all the real estate companies. Yeah. Every office had people like that.
I think
no one had a scalable process solution. Nobody.
Back then, people only knew what they knew, so they were only being taught by who? The people that are teaching them. Right now, things are changing. Obviously, people are starting to understand it a bit more. There are some people that I think, and I can see that, want to become better. I know that sales isn't about charisma and energy and winning people over and lying through.
It's about belief, definitely.
Yeah.
Belief's intent.
Belief's intent. What your overall intent is, obviously, it's fundamentally driven by that.
And then what am I really trying? And then communicating complexity.
Well, how well you communicate complexity and how well you can articulate something. It's like at the end of the day, can you explain it to a 5-year-old? If your 5-year-old can understand it, great, you did a good job. Yeah. If your 5-year-old is still sitting there and wobbling her head, then you haven't done a good job at, unpacking something so complex into a very simple way.
So what's some of the things that you picked up when you came here apart from what we spoke about, that were different. That I guess is whether it's in a story or whatever. Because you and I there was a lot of things that happened for you to get to this level right now, which it's awesome. But there's so much more to go.
Well, there's there's a lot of stuff that happened along the way. But I think one thing that just happened yesterday was when I first joined, I used to hear a lot about getting a testimonial before the property's on the market, and then I used to think, yeah, right.
Every time I say something, people go, "Oh, yeah, right."
It's true. Yeah, I was one of them, and I think I used to hear a lot about it. I used to hear that you used to do it a lot. Hanny used to do it a lot. All the boys used to do it. I'm like, okay.
Down to the point, Karim, that now, and there are levels to this.
Yeah.
With the right belief and the right process and the right message and communication, Hanny got it a few times, and many people in the company did, where an owner calls and says, "Hey, I'm ready to sell my house." And I've spoken to my solicitor, and then they literally email Hanny the contract with Hanny's name on it before he goes out. And Hanny still says, "Hold on, let's stop for a second and slow things down. Let me come out and see you run through the process to make sure that it's the right move for you."
Correct.
And so that's what you're talking about there.
Can I add as well? Like I've also
with the testimonial, it's the same concept.
So the testimonials, one thing where I used to hear a lot about getting testimonials before it's on the market, and then I never could comprehend how. And I thought, okay, yeah, it's easy to get one when you're done. It's fine. You've done your job. Ask them to write a review, and
without asking too.
Without asking, but sometimes back then you'd ask and they just do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But just recently, it's normal, but you will find that people on our WhatsApp chats, on our WhatsApp groups are writing testimonials before the property's even on the market, like the one I sent you yesterday.
Before it goes live. That's by it happens around the 7th message.
What does that then mean though? That then means that every single box has been ticked.
And you've gone above what they expected.
So basic plus 1%. So that testimonial is a reflection of what you did here, not what you did here.
But I think, I think people need to know that it's not just us speaking, right? So it starts off with the belief. The belief is that we're going to impact as many people around the world with what we have because we believe there's a problem and we have a solution for it. It's not just fluff. You don't say, "I'm going to give great customer service." Like, what is it, right? And then we're like, okay, well, you need to have self-interest, their position. You need to be unbiased in how you speak, and then you need to give them knowledge in that direction. In other words, I need to describe your situation. I need to be unbiased, not expect anything. And then I need to give you a new outcome that benefits you.
Empathetic as well along the way.
Then we've got the 1% philosophy, hit the basics, go 1%. Then we've got PPF rule. You communicate always by saying,
past, present, future.
Here's what's happened.
Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's happening. Well, what's happening. Here's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And then we've got the playbook in the middle as well between the start, the middle, and the end.
Exactly. So, and then you've got to integrate your sales process that's specific to the home and tie them in together. And then when you do that well enough, you start to create a high state experience. So it's not just us talking. I guess maybe they won't believe me, but you're there, you see it.
Yeah.
This is real.
It's real because, like I said, I never thought it was real. I then joined the business. I hear a lot about it. I then see it happening to you guys, thinking, why is it not happening to me?
And then the system finally kicks in.
System, but also the work that you do within yourself to really understand that, okay, wait a sec, I'm clearly the problem here. Like in the way I'm communicating, in the way that I'm making these people feel, in the terms of the way not just the way I'm communicating, but what I'm saying with my communication, right? Like one thing is being said, but then what I think they're hearing isn't what what I think they're hearing isn't actually what they heard. You get me? So yeah, there's a lot of the system does a lot of it now, but yeah, that photo that I sent you the other day of that message from that owner that like literally just was giving us a testimonial, and we're not even live. And you can see in the WhatsApp message how it's not just the experience; it was her human need being met to a point where she felt that she just needed to.
And you can see when that doesn't happen, like in the most unique situations. Like you might have a situation where it goes the other way, and it's rare. Like if you go look at reviews, there's probably only 2 out of like 1,000, right? And when you look at those reviews, maybe 3. I dissect the reviews. I go, how did that happen? And it was like, at that point, the expectation was below. How do we fix it via the automation? We go back through the app. We look where. You can see it's red. It's like, oh, that shouldn't have happened there.
Correct. And then how do we fix it? How do we make it better? And then how do we preempt it? So there's basically nothing in there that we're not looking at it from a point of how do we make it better. So it's not, hey, something's fine. Let's not fix what's not broken. Let's just not touch it. Let's not fix it.
If it's broken, make it better.
And then if it's working, how do you make it better?
If it's not broken.
If it's not broken, how do you make it better? And that's constant. Again, that's just a philosophy, but then it's a belief as well. It's actually a belief.
Yeah.
It's like if something's not broken and it's working, most people say, yeah, just leave it. It's fine. But then we're just like, okay, it's working fine, but then how do we make it better? How do we improve it?
How do we actually do it? You know, and you've seen it, you've watched it, and you know, for everybody out there who's listening, like our business works by they're all licensed users of the company name, they're all running their independent company, but it's the first where everything goes through an app, everything.
Pretty
much. But not let's just list a house, go through the app.
No, everything from start to finish.
It's what messaging is going out to everyone's owner, everyone's buyer to make the agent a proper advisor.
Yeah.
And then you've got a high state experience happening everywhere, and you've got this. I see it like First Australia, and you're seeing fireworks going off because it's real. What's real is going to find its place. And what's not won't. And I say this to people that go in there trying to say, I'm a salesperson with charisma. What's real is going to find its place. So find something that is real, what is fundamentally true, and then try and build on that. And we've done that, right? And you can see it. And you can see it with your growth in your business because your business is going good. So you're working on that, and you're getting bigger and stronger.
So again, you asked the question, what did I used to see back then? And then now it's obviously happening to me. I think it's one of those things that you hear about it and you think, okay, is it true? Is it real? But then eventually it catches up and it actually happens to you. I think the biggest thing that, like, you remember when there was a moment where you and I had a chat, and then I made the decision to come and work from Riverwood. Remember that?
Yeah.
I had to make a decision because I was.
And
doing
you brought your team.
Yeah, I brought my team. It was just two others. And we sat down downstairs at the time, We sat downstairs and I had to take, a step back to take 5 steps forward. But then the growth that happened from there helped catapult the growth that we have now, because I was surrounded by not just you and Joyce and, Imam, Daniel, James and all the boys. It was infectious to kind of be around people that I felt that were operating at the same standard compared to just you're doing it over here your way, which you think's work, but fuck, there's a way better way to do it here.
Yeah.
And then once I started hearing the conversations that you were having with the boys and the boys were having amongst each other, and then all of a sudden...
Started to see it was real. We're not making things up.
Exactly, because let's face it...
Do you think people out there think that what we're saying is BS?
I think a lot of people
What do you think?
I think a lot of people probably see it on Instagram.
Is that because they can't? Is that because they can't see a world where it's possible because they can see how challenging it is?
Maybe. I think they'll probably look at it in a way and say, that's not for me, or, oh, wait, that's a bit of bullshit. I don't get their marketing, or what's up with the videos, or even when we throw photos of like memorable moments when the people are in the house. Like, some people can't comprehend that. And that's okay. That's fine. Like, but some people can, and the people that can, and they're kind of starting to see a breath of fresh air with the real estate regime, are starting to chat to us and say, hey, what are you doing here? Would you do something here? Or what do you think about that? And that's what comes with it as well. But some agents will find it hard to get their head around.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what's interesting. I'll full disclosure. So Mello is obviously a company that I own, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's my wife's name, Melissa Obeid.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And we made that because we hired people from the wedding industry. We hired people from all different types of industries, right? Except for the real estate industry, because of the messaging behind it. And we started to build that. And what was happening was very ironic. People would ask me on one side, what's up with this marketing? But the next second, you know what was happening? They were inboxing Mello, asking him, can you do my company's marketing, without knowing that I own Mello.
That's true. And
so which I loved, because it meant that they could see. They were just, what they didn't understand creates fear. And then all of a sudden they see it and they're like, actually, I can connect with that. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I never once said anything. I was like, okay, no worries. Let's just help them.
But they didn't know that you can see them DMing Mello to say, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z?
And I was okay with that. I was
Yeah.
like, I want to help them. If they can see what we're doing here, and they actually, I don't care
it's gonna
what
improve their
what
life.
they're saying on this side. I care
Yeah.
about what's in their heart.
Correct.
And if they can see that, we want to help them. We want to help them build their business, and we want to do it. And we started doing that for a little bit, but then we just Osralty's and belief expanded pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So that's,
Or what you'll find is people tried to copy it. I wouldn't say copy it like to a degree, but they started to really understand, wait a sec, I don't necessarily want to be in the videos.
copy. I tell you what it is. Like, I don't have an issue with copying a belief and copying an intent, and then what manifests from that is what you do. I don't have an issue with that. I don't like imitation. I'll tell you why. It dilutes the message. So if I'm saying an area is undervalued, it's because we've done the statistics through the app that's brought out areas with our algorithm to say, okay, well, there's some areas a little bit higher in price. The percentage should be higher here. The turnover, it's our own. We've got a foundation to make that statement that we believe. When people start writing that for the sake of writing that because they think that's some kind of angle to get an owner, that's an imitation.
Again,
that becomes
what works.
What works.
Yeah, so it's working for you. Oh, wow,
But that becomes an issue because it's diluting message.
And it's not the real, authentic, true message.
Exactly.
So it gets diluted.
Which means eventually it'll
You'll get caught out.
It'll dissipate.
Correct.
Yes.
But then at the end of the day, it hurts the people that are genuinely trying to get the message across to their area that it is undervalued.
If
And
it is
does
true.
if it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does deserve more. And if some other agent grabs that, and
That's
says,
one
"Oh,
of
I'm
like
gonna
that's one of 1,000 things.
If
right?
someone tries grabbing that, but their intent isn't true or authentic, it's not going to work. The person's going to see straight through it.
Yeah.
But yes, it does hurt the ones that are trying to genuinely tell the marketplace that, hey, your area is undervalued. Someone grabs it, says, oh, that's their sales angle, and then they go and use it. 9 out of 10 times, people will see through it very
But
fast.
it's important if you're out there and you're doing something that you focus on what's real.
But can I tell you why they get caught out very fast?
Why?
Because your messaging
And
a week ago was different.
and they don't have a process.
They don't have a but a week ago, your language that you were speaking about a month ago was different.
Yeah.
So if your message was different a month ago, and then all of a sudden it's changed now, people will see through that very fast.
Yeah.
And again, it's that quick snatch and grab. Yep, I'm there. Correct charisma will get me through the door. But then what you're saying in front of the client is different, and then they're like, "Oh, this isn't the same person that I thought I was."
What's the real problem? You can't articulate a real problem that's not true.
Yeah.
So
because they don't understand what it is.
Exactly.
themselves.
So,
Yes.
so you've got to be able to do that, and then you've got to be able to message, and then you've got to find. So if you're running any type of business, it's like, what problem are you solving? What's your solution? What's your message? How do you underpin that communication? The other thing is when you open your business is new business energy. When you first open, you treat people with the basics and go 1% above constantly because
Always.
you got new business energy.
Yeah.
So you could be a business out there right now, and you can go from here right to the top just by changing a fundamental belief. For me, it's new business energy every day. Everyone who walks into my shop, I'm going to leave better than I found them. Here's the problem I'm truly solving in the market for the people that are coming into my shop. Here's my solution. Here's my communication message. Here's how I'm going to articulate it. Here's how I'm going to see people for what they are with their emotional need. Here's how I'm going to manage people within our organization. More importantly, here's how I'm going to transfer belief to the people in our organization. And if I'm able to see the human need that everybody's chasing, then I'm able to deal with that. So there are different people in your business, and you got to handle them. And you, on the recruiting front, you and I have had many conversations about this where it's not my business, but I've said to you, it's not going to work right from the start. You fight back.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. And then I end up finding out the hard way. Because again, that just
They're
comes with
not bad people. They're just not.
Look, the thing is about it is that you can see around the corner. This is obviously, when you go through business, there are certain people that can see things around the corner that you
Only
can't
through
see.
experience, man.
Only through experience.
Yeah.
So when I was fighting the certain things, I was naive to not understand that you were in my position only 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. So you can see things around the corner that I can't see. So I'd got these blinkers on, and you'd be like, hey, wait. I just want to let you know, and then I'm like, no. I'm still going to give it a go.
And I was speaking to Michael the other day, and I always speak to our team. It's like when you're hiring somebody, number one, you've got to be at a certain belief system to attract that person, right? You got to be able to transfer that belief to them. You got to be able to transfer the energy to them. You've worked that out, right? Look what you've done with Caitlin, whatever it may be, and Tolga and that, and Naz, right? So and many others, but it's about transferring that belief to them. and then seeing how they react in normal time. And then when people say, look, what's the best way to interview? I'm like, observe the character.
Yeah.
You know, well, I say stuff to you all the time. How fast did they reply in text? Did they reply back? Do they give? Have you ever seen those long ones to avoid? Is when you see the long-winded messages that come to you.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
The ones that are long paragraph messages are more of a cry for help. But
there's flags. There are flags, and you look. As you grow and as you learn, you start to see these flags more and more through people that then link back to a certain moment that then allows you not to make that same mistake here. And that's really business. And you know what? It's not always business. It's just life in general. So there are red flags. And I think as you grow and as you recruit and as you see more and do more, you'll start to learn and grow and see certain things that you're probably going to want to avoid. But it's not numbers. It's not deals. It's not how many people get me through the door. It's based on character. That's it. So, if someone's going to show up, someone's going to show up to an interview and they're already like 1 or 2 minutes late, and there was no courtesy to kind of like just give you the bit of a heads up.
I remember you tried to introduce me to someone. Do you remember? You tried to introduce me to someone.
I did.
And the person was 3 minutes late, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
But then I texted you I was upstairs.
You were, and you texted me saying...
Did they apologize?
No, they didn't.
And so I didn't attend the meeting.
Yeah.
Well, what's there there's nothing to me. The person has demonstrated their character right in front of you.
And now if they're going to demonstrate...
Why have a 7-hour conversation? It's done.
True. And if they're going to demonstrate that character here...
At their best self, in their best moment.
Then when people are entering their shop, what sort of demonstration of their character they're going to show them?
You can see the outcome. You can see where it's going. It's not... when you're recruiting or hiring someone to bring them in, and the other one, and I say it to people ring me, they say, hey, look, we might want a partner. And they're always looking for, what can this place do for them? And I'm like, you can do a lot. And I start talking about, what I start talking about? I start talking about the Unicorn Comms log. This is what it says. This is how it talks to your people that you serve. This is the messaging. This is how the system gets the maximum. Yeah, but what can it do for me? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just explained what it can do for the people you serve.
Correct. Which is the most important thing.
Isn't that what you're trying to do?
Correct.
What do you think the people that you serve want? A better package for you or a better system for them?
Better system for them.
So I'm telling you what it can do for you, but you're not listening because all that you're thinking about
is you.
Yeah. And the market doesn't care about you.
No.
It cares about what you can do for them.
Exactly.
So if you're out there and you're trying to get into a business, the first question I think somebody should ask, and I used to say it comes back to the same conversation when you came to see me and you go, Omar, the offers invited thing, is that an angle? And I'm like, no, this is how it works for the owner. And you're like, yeah, but tell me, like, is that what you do to get business? I'm like, what is this guy not understanding? He's trying to tell the market that I can solve a problem. I'm trying to tell him the problem we solved. And he's saying to me, all it told me is that's what you were doing.
And which was a reflection of why I had those results as well, which is obviously wasn't that great. It was okay, but it wasn't that great.
And it's only going to be greater.
But I think we hear that all. Like even people that first join the business. I think sometimes it takes them a bit of time. It does. It doesn't click straight away. Like even Nas. I love Nas. It took Nas a bit of time.
Yeah.
But like Nas is like us. Like it maybe took him probably 2 to 3 months.
What do you think takes him long? What is it? What is it that you saw? What is it? Because I don't see anything we do as weird. I see everything else out there is weird.
That is true, but if they're coming from an environment that's not like this, and then they're surrounded
what is it? What is an environment like this?
Okay,
like,
so
what is it?
Like with Nas, for example, he had a lot of habits, and those habits weren't that great, right? Like for example,
but he's a gentleman of all gentlemen. That guy,
top bloke, best guy. And if you're carrying them, you need someone to make you aware of him. And then that person needs to help chip them out.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just going to carry him through and they're going to repeat the same loop.
Yeah.
But if someone's to the left of you, that's kind of like, oh, don't say that. Don't do that. Like you're gonna come with some habits, and that's fine. But at least be surrounded by people that are going to help chip those habits out of you and help shape your character to be better. So don't be in an environment where someone's still tapping you on your back for doing something still pretty fucked. It's bad. They know it's bad. You know it's bad, but no one's kind of talking that it's bad. So we all have habits. Some are good, some are bad. But if someone comes around and they don't have the greatest habits, you just want to be surrounded by people that are going to hit you up and say, don't do that. Don't say that. Maybe consider doing this. Call the underbid of that. Before this happens, do this. After the auction, do that.
Well, now the system
After
tells you to do it.
The system that still needs the human to have the right intent.
The intent, of course.
So within the 3-month period, like I really started to see him take a lot of shape, and then
you know, and yeah, and but he was always a good gentleman.
because his intent is always in the right place.
Yeah.
So you always had the person, the customer's best interest in mind. He just didn't know how to do it a better way. That's it.
I remember he said to me at the first meeting.
Now he does it all the time.
You brought him here at the first meeting. And then he's gone from 0 a month to 4 a month.
Yeah.
And then the other day I said, you're at 4, and he goes, yeah, but there's more to come. That's a different belief system, man.
Completely.
And it doesn't, we've got 18-year-olds to do that, and he's actually 50 something, I think. Maybe he's 25 in his head, but 50 something. But he responded that, and I'm like, this isn't the same belief system and your belief system starts to grow.
To change.
But I remember he came into our business once. And first time he came here for the first meeting, because, you know, our meetings are a bit different.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a bit different. I'm told they're different.
No, they're different.
Yeah. Okay. So the guy comes in and he finished it and he goes, you know, the first meeting I ever came to 6 months ago or 7 months ago. Yeah, he goes, I was about to get up and walk out. Yeah. I go, why? He goes, I thought, who is this bloke? What is this? This guy talking about me? This guy talking.
But you only feel like it's resonating with you when you know that you're doing it. So when someone's talking to you about something and then it's hitting you and you're like, oh shit, that's me deep down. Is he talking to me? He's not talking to you. But it's resonating with you to say, oh shit, I've got a bit of that in me.
You're the king of saying words, but the wrong way around. Me and then you always have a bit of a chuckle, yeah?
Who, me?
Resonate.
Resonate?
It's resonate.
Oh, resonate.
Resonate.
Yeah.
you would put a G or anyway, sorry.
What do you mean? I used to say...
You're a funny guy.
What do I used to say?
I'd love someone to come in and just have a go at me of all my flaws because I have so many of them. It's not funny.
What was that? French provincial? Provincial, something like that?
All right, Karim, have a go. What's something that I do that you think is a flaw?
A flaw?
Yeah, something that you think. Go.
I think you're sometimes very quick to judge.
Yeah.
I do. I think sometimes without knowing the full story, there's a part of you that's very quick to say, see, bang, see, I told you that, see, guess what, that, see, that. And then when the story starts to come out.
Do I still say, see,
no,
I told you?
You're very, very quick, though, to say, fuck, I was wrong. You are. So I think, and it's not in a very open public way, but you're very fast to associate a story to it. And then from there, but you're very quick to say, yeah, you know what, fuck, I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's okay.
I can't, mate. What you see, you see.
Well, yeah. Well, what? Yeah.
I think you're completely wrong, but what you see,
doesn't mean I'm right.
I'm joking.
No, it's okay.
I'm joking. But
yeah, no, there's good people obviously that have joined, and you know, there's Ibby's team's exploded as well, and I think he's on like 24, 25 people or something like that. He'll go to like freaking 50 by the end of the year.
Yeah, and you were the one who connected. Like, I'm not out there talking to anybody.
No.
Not only because I'm focused so much on the app. It's you come to me and you say, hey, look, I've got this guy, Ibby.
Yeah.
And
I sold a house to Ibby.
You sold a house to Ibby, yeah.
I sold a house.
Do you remember the first day you brought him here and he started arguing with every single thing that I said?
He was trying to debunk every... Look, it was, again, I don't blame him because from where he came from. Like, I get the way I can see things may be slightly different to you because I came from his same environment. I came from the same mentality of just corporate has to be done this way. You know, it's all numbers. It's all about calls. It's all about this. It's all about that. So basically the end was in mind, but there's so many other moving parts in the middle that were missed.
And that's the thing about that, right? We'll talk about that because people say it because you came from different environments, and people sometimes say, oh, you know, Omar's got an issue with that environment because I'll say to somebody, I don't know if you should go to that training session, and I'll say go if you want, but I don't think you should. All right. And the reason why I say it, it's like just imagine you're a makeup artist, okay? And you're focused on the person's contours, their face, their this, the right texture for their skin, and you're deeply focused in that. And your conversation is always like, I need to grab the right makeup for the right skin for this person, and you're constantly in there.
Yeah.
And then you go to a makeup place, and the makeup place is talking to you about how to get more prospects in makeup.
Yeah.
Suddenly your focus is totally distracted.
Yeah.
And your verbalization of what's important changes. It becomes about how do I bring people in?
Not about how do I give this girl the best makeup face.
And ultimately, that's what brings people in.
Correct.
And so what I say is it's a different frequency. And when people come into the business, that's why I used to say to you, look, just do whatever you want, but just give us 3 months where you're not exposed to anything. And we say stop following things on social media because it's not to do with good or bad people. It's not even intention. It's what they're saying. Like, it's always about what I can get, not what I can give.
Correct. So at the end of the day, if you've put your hand up to give this girl the best possible face with makeup skill that you have, and then all of a sudden,
you're obsessed with that.
And that's little do you know that where is that girl going? She's going to a wedding. Who's at wedding?
What's the moment?
Other people.
See, now you're getting messaging. Now's a problem to solve. What's the real problem here? Self-esteem. Or I want to feel a certain way in front of people. It's my wedding day.
It's a feeling.
All right, how do you transfer that feeling? How do you speak? How do you care so much about that person? How do you send the right message to that person? How do you have the greatest follow-up? There's so many moving parts in that human experience. So the second that makeup artist goes to a conference and the conference starts talking about how to get more clients into your business, you've lost that magic. It's gone.
Which is, again, another thing that I had to learn and understand, that my next piece of business, my next listing was closer to me than I thought, much closer to me than I thought. So I had to learn along the way that the person that's connected to the deal, being not just the buyer and the seller, but the neighbors, the solicitor, the finance,
Anyone in your shop.
everyone inside the shop would be the next person that will send me my next client. It was really that. Once you wrap your head around it, and you don't need to go find new ones. Why would you need to find new ones when
They're
you can
right
just
there.
work on the people that are in front of you at the moment, give them the best possible experience? And then they say, word of mouth is the best form of advertising. It actually is, but people talk about it but don't practice it. So
Because it's not that easy. Because a great human experience has to meet basics and go 1% above, but there are so many touch points.
yeah, but then you peel the onion layer back again. What is the basic? Okay, I'm talking to them how I want to be spoken to. No, dude, you speak to them how they want to be spoken to.
Yes.
So then you got to understand the human need.
But
you're meeting their human need, they go and tell more people about how
But
great
in
you are.
real estate, why it's challenging, and I showed this the other day, is you got two columns with an owner, let's say. On the left-hand column, you've got the emotional, which is the left side of the brain, let's say. And on the right side, you've got a process that maximizes the outcome.
Yeah.
So assume you don't have a genuine process that maximizes the outcome against the problem in the market. Let's say you don't have one of those.
Yeah.
You're making it up. And let's say on this side, you've got the emotional side. The emotional side consists of many moving parts, like the photos, the timing, the weather, what they're thinking when the post list goes out, what it says. Is it empathetic? Is it written in the right tone? Is it said in the right way? So many nuts and bolts to that side. Now, people go and hire these admins to do it for them, and they're like, just fix that for me, right?
Yeah.
But on scale, even that won't work, right?
No.
And then you've got the right-hand side, which is the logical side. Is there a clear understanding of how we get the maximum outcome and what we're actually basing our metrics on? Now, when you get these two sides, you have to manage a lot of preemptive objections on those two sides. And you have to somehow integrate that communication, taking it from complex to simple. And so why the whole model of I'm an agent and I'm charismatic works is because they meet some of those objections on this side very quickly.
Yeah.
Where it unravels is as lack of understanding on the process meets a lack of understanding of meeting objections on this side over time, is you start to get friction. And so
A friction with who?
friction with the owner,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And so managing both sides on scale
Is
almost
almost
impossible.
very difficult to do.
But that's what we've done.
Correct. And that's why do teams then say, I need an admin to do all of this stuff?
Because they're trying to pick up the left side, but people haven't, or not that I've seen, people haven't dissected how this works. And in real estate, you have, when you're going to these conferences or whatever, generally training, is they're talking about how to get more people into this shop, but that shop you're bringing people in doesn't meet the need of the left side or the right side. It doesn't meet the logic of the process, nor does it meet the emotional side on scale.
On scale.
And suddenly you have this agent does it better than this agent. So you no longer have a brand. And this is what we fixed. And this is why, you're doing really well with not that much output.
Well, again, like I used to have an admin, and I used to be, like I used to argue with you all the time. Like, no, I need an admin. I was like, you used to think, okay, well, why do you need an admin? Like, come on. Like, there are systems in play where I think your admin will eventually run out of things to do. Like, what exactly can he or she do? I think
a lot if you don't have that system.
But here's the thing. I think I would, if I had my time over again, I would probably avoid an admin and I'd probably focus more on a co-agent.
But that's only because you have a system.
But
without a system, you need that person.
Well, without a system there, you've got no choice. You're going to have to get someone to do all of that stuff if that's stuff that you do.
Yeah, but then you've got an agent walking in, listing the property, doesn't really have a sound structure. They have a plan, but it's not 100% clear. The owner doesn't know how the nuts and bolts of decision-making's made. They haven't met the emotional side. They're big shots, so they call their admin. They go, call that owner and book everything in and fix the emotional side for me. Yeah. I'll do the professor stuff where I call in, but then all of a sudden, there's a shift and what they said is different to what's happening. So now they got to adjust their plan. Now they got to give information that's not consistent with the truth to try and get the owner back in line to what they said. And now you've got a situation of crossover. Then you've got 15 houses. It's multiplying and suddenly you need to get out of this mess. So you basically say, okay, I'm going to solve it. And this becomes compounding. Yeah. But to get it really right is if you've got the left-hand side and the right-hand side covered from the start, and it's sequentially meeting the objections against explaining this side.
Yeah, so explaining this side again is the process.
The process.
And then the other side is just a constant objection, preempting, not objection because they don't pop up. It's just preempting.
Preempting what they could be thinking against the process that's selected specific to what the property is. So both sides are being preempted and combining the two together, it doesn't work. You know, these companies, Karim, that have gone out and they've tried to go agentless. I don't believe the world will be agentless. It'd be different, but it won't be agentless. And they've tried to do it, but they do not have a sales process. They have a way to get your house on the market and a business model.
Well, and again, just to explain to people as well, like the sales process doesn't have to be that complex.
It's not complex.
There's a beginning. It's like a playbook. We call it the playbook. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end.
And it's a beautiful story for all parties.
For both parties.
Everybody involved.
Including the agent.
Exactly.
The agent doesn't have to sit there stressing out, needing to meet with buyers at 8, 9 o'clock at night.
No, you're creating beautiful synergy and energy.
Your owners are, at the end of the day, consistently getting updated and giving them the certainty that they need.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why most owners at the end of the day get pissed off with agents. Let's face it.
Last thing, what do you think people out there, or even you, would think is strange in the business that you no longer think is strange? Because I get things all the time. Well, why do you do this? Why do you do that? What's that about?
No, I think I'd probably say a year or two ago, the marketing, I would say it would be.
Only 2 years ago? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's not. People are starting to catch on to it now. It's normal. Yeah. People are starting to change their ways. They're starting to realize I don't need to be in front of a house. The fucking customer doesn't care. The buyer doesn't care about me walking past or rocking up in my car. The buyer, I'd love to sit down with a buyer and say, how many times did you skip past that bit? And like get to that 10 second, 15 second, 20 second.
Yeah.
Because people are starting to realize that's not the most important thing.
Instead of calling it marketing, if you could flick it and say, what is each party trying to say? It's communication.
Well, no.
If you work out what the agent's trying to say in a video, you'll actually say it's nonsense.
Okay, so why do you think agents promote themselves on videos? There's nothing wrong with it, yeah? So just to be very open.
Yeah, there is. There's everything wrong with it.
I don't see there's anything wrong with an agent standing in front of a property.
I think there is.
If that's all they know and they don't know there's a better way. Well, why do you think they do it? Why do you think they stand in front of a house and then they do all of this sort of stuff? And then at the end of it...
There's two reasons, I think. Number one...
And why isn't it more about the home?
They think it is about the home. That's the thing. So So every agent that stands in front of those does the thing, whatever they do.
Yeah.
Fair enough, whatever.
I think the next thing you're going to find them just rocking up in a helicopter or something.
Whatever. I don't. It's each to their own. Yeah. Whatever. But any agent who does that is a good agent. Is normally driving a luxury car.
Yeah.
Which is great. No issue with that.
Fine.
But here's the thing. The luxury car that they bought never had a person in a tie standing in front of the luxury car telling them about the features when they bought it. So the agent is being sold to in a way that's emotive, but they're selling back in a way that's not. And what I can't understand is you, the agent who's doing that, are buying products in luxury every day, and not one luxury product at the value that's less than a quarter of what the value of the house is. Not one luxury product you've ever bought has sold to you like that.
Yeah.
So why are you selling something that's that much the value?
Yeah. On a much higher emotional
Completely different to how you're buying as a luxury consumer. And so when I put that question to them, they can't answer it. They'll say something like features. Why? Why aren't they doing that? Because the reason why they're not doing that is the people that are selling those products to them is tapping into their emotional need of significance or whatever it may be. So what an agent's doing is trying to say to the marketplace that I know the features and benefits of this home, because they think that's what the owner wants to hear, right? But for a buyer, they don't care about the feature. They care about the feeling the feature gives.
Correct, yeah.
And then they care about how they're going to see a future vision of themselves inside that home. And then they're going to care about core memories. And then they're going to care about the memories they had or the memories they're making.
Yeah.
Take a Porsche, for example. They market the memories you had when you grew up, you saw this beautiful Porsche, and the memories you'll make in the future. Porsche has, I've got one, has 1,000 different features in it.
Yeah.
Not once have I seen a commercial for Porsche where they discuss those features. Not once.
Yeah.
And so when someone buys it, they go, oh, this has got great features. But that's not why you bought it. Right. You bought it because you saw a vision of yourself. So get out of the real estate video, because you're taking away the right for the person who's watching it to see a vision of themselves there. You are blocking the emotional connection to the actual video without knowing it.
Without knowing it. That's true.
Unless you can come up with a way to be in the video that transfers that emotional resonance back to the person watching it. And always remember, if you are a luxury type of agent and you own luxury products, ask yourself, how have you been sold to?
Yeah.
And it's never the way you're selling to others. It may be behind closed doors with your exclusivity and how you speak, but in your marketing, what are you doing? It contradicts the foundational elements of marketing and messaging. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
No matter how good your footage is, it's the opposite.
So then what about the agents that say, okay, yeah, but I need to be in the video because I need to market myself to my marketplace?
That's different. Now you've got an intention issue, which means you don't have the belief that what you have to put out there is valuable. So you're trying to put yourself out there front and center.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There are ways to do that too. But instead of putting yourself out there, why not put what you stand for out there?
Yeah.
Right? Why not put a message of the problem you're solving? Why not talk about everything you stand for, everything you are? And if you do that, if I stand for, hey, I believe the maximum outcome's life-changing because people's lives, what they do in the home, their memories, where they're going. I had a situation myself, tell a story about something you've experienced. When you start speaking like that, you are transferring your belief to your market, and your market knows who you are, what you stand for, and why are you doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're in a market where agents are saying record this and record that, then that's fine until an agent comes in who's got a messaging sequence that's true.
And genuine and real.
And let's do this. If I were back to the makeup one, the makeup analogy is very easy.
I like the makeup one.
If I was to stand there and go, hey, my name's Omar, look at my makeup set. Today, I'm going to show you makeup this, makeup that. It's going to get traction. People are going to go, great, makeup, I like it. But if the same person turns around and says, you know what, today I'm doing a wedding. This girl has dreamt of this day her whole life.
Yeah.
And she was telling me the other day that she couldn't wait for this moment. She can't believe it's coming. Right now, what I'm going to do next, any makeup artist, is the makeup we apply on that girl's face today is not just makeup. It's a picture for the rest of her life. Yeah. It's a memory for the rest of her life. And it ties into what she does next. So what I'm going to do is make sure this particular makeup is going to be the greatest and best. I'm going to sleep on time. I'm going to have the greatest sleep. And I'm going to wake up fresh, because I know how important that is to her. Now, that's not talking about features of the makeup, the oil, the base, or whatever.
It's talking about the intent.
It's talking about the intent, but it's linking the human experience. And in real estate, they don't do that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I do, but it should be avoided. I believe it should be avoided. It's up to you, man. If you want to keep doing that, I'm not. Maybe I'm judging.
No.
Maybe I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm not saying it's a bad. I'm saying I believe it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. I think, as I said, a year ago, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, it would be probably something that'll be weird. I think now it's starting to become a little bit more normal. There's less of that happening. And I think the future would probably there'll be much
Karim,
less of it
why
happening
at
that's
that
happening.
point when you thought it was weird, didn't you go look at all the luxury brands? Tell me one luxury brand who markets like that. I would say if Chanel came into our industry, they would think it is the weirdest industry ever. They would sit there and go, what are these people doing?
Yeah.
So
If
why?
Chanel, yeah,
So why is it the other way around? Like there isn't a luxury brand that wouldn't think that that is weird.
it's true. Or for example, again,
Unless you're
we know
Channel
that-
7 Getaway.
Yeah, well, they're selling,
But they're not selling
that's an
emotional
experience.
needs.
That's an experience. They're selling an experience. So if they're selling an experience through someone else, they're trying to market what this experience will look and feel like on this getaway, the Bahamas or whatever it might be. No, I know. I think, yeah, again, I think back then marketing, I think now, I don't know. I wouldn't say belief. I just think that some people would not understand when we talk about belief. And we're lucky we've got a lot of people that have like Bradley, for example, that's helped not people like you, but more of the other guys to kind of help amplify what true belief is. I think a lot of people look at it and again, it's just like a catchy, it might be an angle, it might be a slogan, or it might be like, oh, it's just something that they say. But I think when you're here and you're surrounded by enough people, you start practicing it. Now, I don't mean practicing like it's this weird thing, but you start to understand it, you'll then see the results follow.
I think agents should be doing what you're doing. I think agents should be doing significantly less, impacting significantly more,
Yeah.
and living significantly greater lives with their families.
Yeah.
And I believe it's totally possible in this new world that we're creating.
Yeah.
And I believe if people just sought to know more about it and started thinking about the people they're serving, everything, they'll get it. They'll get it.
Agreed. And I think, though, at the end of the day, if you're going to think 3 to 5 years ahead,
I'm thinking 6 months, man. And then I'm thinking 20 years.
no, I'm saying that if you want to be somewhere in 1, 3, 5 years ahead, you need to start thinking about what that looks like from now. And then if you want to build a team around you, you need to start doing it so then that way you can have that time later. Like, for example, when you see agents that are like, 40 years into the game and they're still at open inspections, it's like, come on, like, why are you still at open?
Maybe they want to.
Maybe they want to, but then
If they
once
want
but then at the same time, are you then holding back the people that are growing with you the opportunity to be able to serve those people that should be served? Or you're just showing up and then you're shaking hands trying to find the next seller and the next buyer. Well, if you train your team enough, then they can do that for you. So then you're not stuck going to 15 open inspections.
I tell you right now, if you're running a real estate company, at 10 people, fine, 20 people, maybe 30, 40, 50. Once it gets to 100 plus, if your solution is I'm going to train people and I'm going to teach them, you got no chance. There are too many moving parts. If you do not have a systemized process reversed from start to finish, there is no chance. You might be able to build. That's why people franchise, because they try to have. I've got 100 franchises. Each office has got 100 people. But if your play is, I'm going to be a great leader and I'm going to give pep talks and I'm going to mentor and mentorships my way forward and all of that, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But if your play to the consumer is that, then there's no way you're going to be able to scale that. You're going to see cracks appear every time it gets to a certain level. Cracks again.
Why would the cracks appear?
Well, we know why, because they don't have the two columns. They don't have a reverse engineered process of every single moving part of the emotional side and the sales process of the logical side. So people aren't being taught a product. They're being taught how to get more people into the shop. It's a different way of thinking. And if the trainer is there and giving their energy, it will work to a certain extent, right? But eventually the cracks will appear.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have one shop or office better than another office, and it's going to be
performing.
inconsistent, and you don't stand for anything after that.
You just get washed up in the midst of it all as well, and you just become another
Anyway, Karim,
real estate office.
that was good. Good chat.
Cool.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right, guys.